Hello everybody, my name is Megan. You're watching Miss Megan Knits. Links to the Ravelry pages and also other links to stuff that's not on Ravelry will be in the description box below. How is everybody doing? It's been 2 weeks. I've been on a somewhat regular schedule with my podcasting, so that's great. My 2 weeks? It's weird. I think I keep bouncing the camera. Maybe that's not the best. I'm sitting on a mattress in my basement, like the guest bed, and I have the camera on a... That's not gonna work. Hang on. Okay, here we go. Different camera angle. Messy hair, sorry. I hope that's better. Hopefully that won't come wiggling and bouncing all over the place while I am filming. I pinched my finger in the process though, so that's no fun. But I managed to figure it out. So, yeah, that's my intro. I don't have much to say. Yeah, I don't know what to say. So we're gonna move on to FOs. I only have one FO, so singular, today. And I finished it in like 1 day, which is cool. I made this little guy. I'm pretty sure I didn't talk about him last time. I'm pretty sure. My brother's going away to college. I haven't made anything for him in a really long time. And because the first thing I made for him he didn't like, so, you know, I kind of wrote him off as not knitworthy, which is terrible, but it's true. And, you know, I decided to try again because he's older and wiser, and I'm older and wiser. So I decided to ask him, like, what he would like to have knitted for him. And he said anything with Kirby, which is a video game character, in case you're not aware. He's a Nintendo series. He is not a Pokemon, so let's start there. He looks kind of like one, but he's not. He's just a little guy that inhales things and eats them and turns into different powers and stuff, so pretty cool. The only Kirby video game I've ever played is Kirby's Epic Yarn, which is a cute play on words. It's a story about when he goes into a world where everything's made of fabric and yarn. But it was a fun game. I liked him. So I found a pattern from Nerdagurumi on Ravelry. It was linked to her blog. Their blog, his blog. I actually don't know the gender of the person, so link to the blog, which for me came up as HTML only. I'm not sure what the glitch is there. I could still read the pattern by scrolling down and everything was in plain text right there, but it was kind of weird that it wasn't, like, it looked like, the coding looked like, to me, someone who doesn't know what they're doing, like it's supposed to be like clickable links and a toolbar at the top and things like that, and it wasn't there, so I don't know. The pattern was from Super Smash Bros, so it came with different hats Kirby could wear. I guess that's an ability in the game. I did not make the hats. The yarn I used, unlabeled scrap yarn from various places. It's worsted, it's probably acrylic. And then I used embroidery thread for the eyes. Can we take a second to look at these eyes? I have never embroidered anything that well in my entire life. Like, I was so scared to embroider eyes that I actually tried to crochet them first with like a really thin hook and embroidery thread. It didn't work out too well, but I tried that because I was like not confident I could make eyes out of embroidery. And then I had to resort to embroidery because the crochet didn't come out very well, and look at that, folks. I am so proud. The mouth is pretty good too. But yeah, Kirby. Little guy. This took me a day. It took me a day, but I worked pretty much nonstop from 8 to 3. So I took a lunch break, but other than that, 8 to 3. So if you're not planning to marathon crochet like I was, because that was a lot of crochet from 8 to 3 nonstop, yeah, just be aware it'll take you longer than that. But I used an E-hook. I think it might still be in here. No, it's not. That's okay. It's an E-hook. Just believe me. Okay. Whips. Let's put Kirby over here so I don't forget him. My brother has him in a place of honor on his computer desk, and I swiped him because he's not awake until 3 in the afternoon. So I swiped the Kirby to make this video, and I will go put it back when I'm done. He won't care. I'm not touching it or harming it, and I did make it, so he's not going to be offended by it at all, but I do want to make sure I don't forget to bring it back. Okay, whips. Gooseberry shawl, where are you? Where are you? Here you go. Okay. I really thought I might finish this shawl last weekend. I was at my boyfriend's house, I had some time to myself, I was knitting, you know, I also I chatted with his family and had coffee in the morning and things like that. So I'm like 4 rows away, and they're all stockinette rows. Maybe not 4 rows, I can tell you how many rows, but let's pull out this beauty. Here we go. Sorry. Please stand by. Cool. So, this is it. It's crunched up on the needle, obviously. This part's the most spread out because it's furthest from the needle. I would go over all the sections again. I will go over it again when I finish it, so stay tuned for next podcast or watch a previous podcast if you want to know that, because I'm just tired of running through it all again. But I'm very proud of it. It's warm. It's the recycled wool. It's BC Garn Bio Shetland. In the colorways, let's see if I remember them. Flannel Gray, Pebble, Sheep Nougat, and Sapphire. I will say the new edition is the Sapphire part. I did waves. Kind of like Feather and Fan, except not, because Feather and Fan is all based on garter with the lace in it. This is based on stockinette with a pearl ridge on one row, and then the lace happens on the next row, and then it's stockinette. I modified it a little bit to put some rows of stockinette in between so that I could make the pattern fit easily in a triangle. But I think it looks pretty good. I found a stitch marker under Bear's kitchen table, and he's like, wow, you're making yourself a home already. I'm like, shut up. Because, yeah, I'm losing stitch markers everywhere all the time. But these managed to stay on except for that one. And it was a pretty easy one to fix because it was the 2 stitches from the end that let me know where to put that yarn over to do the shaping. And I knew what that looked like, what 2 stitches from the end looks like. It was that one on the other side, the pink one, but it's that marker. So, that marker on the other side. I'm so close to being done. Let me see if I can find the, yes. So I keep track of my rows on a Post-it. You see before I had only up to 18. I circle the rows that are lace rows, and I underline the ones that are, I guess a row of garter bumps is what I would call them, and then everything else is stockinette. So that is where I am. I am on row 36 right now, and because I want to bind off on the right side, I need to do a row 37. That's not in the pattern that I wrote, but I don't want to bind off on the wrong side because I think that will give me a different look than what I'm going for. So I'm going to bind off on the right side, so I got to do an extra row. Other than that, done. So I'm even closer than I thought I was. Hopefully, I don't know if I'll finish that up today or start working on the project I really want to get done quicker, that I will talk about at the very end. Okay, so close. It's going to be huge. This is a 40-inch circular, and it's going to be much bigger than the circular, so it's going to be huge. I have no idea exactly how big it's going to be because I haven't seen it stretched out since it was small enough to fit on the needle, so we'll find out. We'll all find out together. Awesome. So, Noah's parents were impressed. I think they were impressed with my knitting skills. I brought the amigurumi platypus I made, see several episodes back for that platypus, and they really liked it. Like, apparently Bear has on his phone, his lock screen is my platypus sitting in my recliner with the remote for the TV. Like, that's his actual lock screen that he's had for a while. And apparently, I guess his mom has the same phone case, so like they just look at the lock screen to see whose it is, and so she sees the platypus a lot. So I brought the platypus with me when I went there, and everybody was like, oh my goodness, can I touch it? I'm like, it's not fragile. Go ahead. Go ahead, right? And like, they were impressed, I think. Which made me feel really good that like having people like, wow, that's really cool. It's like, yeah, I am really cool. It felt good, so special thanks to them. Okay, Granny Square Blanket. I've been talking about this one for a while. I will be talking about it for a while longer. If you don't like that, sorry. That's what I'm working on. It's a long-term project. This is the, ooh, I don't have any notes on that. I'm gonna have to remember. The Triple Puff Granny Square by Aline Alastair. Oh, the gooseberry shawl I designed myself, just in case you're curious. This was Triple Puff Granny Square Aline Alastair. I think that's how you say their name. I say they because that's what they go by, so I'm not gonna judge. But yes, so they made a pattern. They used a fingering weight yarn. I used a worsted and a size something hook. Diving for a hook. 5mm. I don't know what US size that is, it doesn't say it on the hook, but 5mm hook. And I'm using lots of different bits and pieces of worsted weight acrylic. I have pretty much every brand in there, so if you want to check out my Ravelry page, I'll link it. I have everything listed, not the amounts that I used, but all of the colorways and yarns and stuff like that are there, so you can figure that out for yourself if you are curious. But yes, and I've made one, I think 11, 2, maybe not 11, 3, 4, 5, 6, and this is 7 without the ends woven in, so it'll be 7 soon. I have 50 squares done exactly so far, I think not counting that last one without the ends woven in, or maybe counting it, I'm not sure, but 50 squares. I'm trying to make 143 for the queen size bed I sleep on. It's a really relaxing project. I don't mind doing squares. I pick it up and put it down. So I probably will finish it, but I don't necessarily know when. But until then, I like to keep you guys updated on how much progress I've made. Okay. I shouldn't clap on camera. It makes a loud and jarring noise. I just realized that after I did it. Okay. Plarn Mat 7. I have been a Plarn machine. I have been making loops. I have been looping them together. I have been looping Plarn because, I don't know, I guess I had a couple church services that I went to, Zoom church services, because, you know, COVID. And they were talking about, you know, the Loaves and Fishes truck and all the help they're giving to people still, because people still need help even with COVID. They're wearing masks, I assume, and gloves and whatever else they need to be sterile, but they're helping people still. And I have a finished mat already in my closet that I'm like trying to figure out how to get rid of, basically how to give away. And I'm working on one right now, but it kind of motivated me to put my butt in gear and get another one ready so I could drop them both off at the same time. So, usually there's not too much wrestling on camera when I do this. Plarn. I talk about Plarn every video. If you'd really like to know more about Plarn, I have an all about Plarn YouTube video, which I will link. I link it every time because I talk about Plarn every time. I also have a Ravelry pattern. I also have a Ravelry pattern up for free on how exactly to do this exact mat. It has 2 options for formatting. It has like a blog style where you can print out the pages or just watch them on the computer probably because it's got a bunch of pictures. And it's like a blog kind of style of how to read it. And then I also have a condensed pattern that takes up 2 pages of just plain text. So if you want something to print, you can print those pages and then look at the other pages for, you know, guidance. This is a sleeping mat for the homeless to sleep on, so, you know, I can't do much myself to help the homeless. That isn't already being done, but these mats are helping a lot because we're getting a lot of good feedback from the people who we've given them to. So this is kind of what I can do. I can gather the materials, I can make the Plarn, I can crochet the mats, I can give them to somebody, and then hopefully somebody uses them and helps them, needs them, loves them, you know, whatever. So this is the bottom, top. And I just have stripes going on. They're kind of just random stripes depending on whatever kind of Plarn I have available to me at that exact moment. I keep getting more bags because Bear's mom collects the bags and gives them to us, which is good because the nearest, so our town only has like 2 businesses in it that are big businesses. The next town over, where we do like, you know, grocery shopping usually and shopping for everything else usually, has a plastic bag ban in effect. So they can use plastic if it is thicker than a certain amount, but the problem is those thick bags don't work very well for Plarn. They are hard to cut, they are hard to fold, they are hard to crochet with, sorry, and they're difficult. So I am kind of not really loving those, but bear lives about 45 minutes away in another town, which does not have a plastic bag ban. So his mom has a bunch of plastic bags that people that are really local to me, like me and the church family, don't really have access to as much anymore. Yeah, so he brings me bags from his mom. It's awesome. She's cool. Okay. Oh, that's it. That's what I'm gonna say. Q hook. 25 millimeter, I think, is the Q hook. Yes, that's it. Excellent. Okay, I just tossed it. I'll fold it back up later. Monster amigurumi. So I talked about last podcast. I was kind of running low on inspiration until I found an amigurumi blueprint class. Sorry, an amigurumi blueprint class called Amigurumi Design Your Own Monster with Stacey Chalk, and I was really interested in making a monster. So I have started making a monster. I am using a 2.5 millimeter hook and some cotton mill ends scraps. That's another. I had a square in my lap. Cotton mill ends that are scraps, cotton mill ends and scraps. So those cotton mill ends I keep talking about, turns out they must be blended with something because they're not very absorbent. So I'm hoping to find other uses for those cotton mill ends that aren't really 100% cotton probably. And amigurumi came up because cotton doesn't stretch, so you can't, like when you put the stuffing in, it's not going to stretch out. So that's good. Holds its shape. So I'm using that. I'm using some acrylic for the nose trunk thing. And for the eyes, just scraps, bits and pieces, nothing crazy. This is, sorry, my hair clip is stabbing me in the neck. But I don't want to let my hair down because it's really messy right now. Because I took a shower, and when my hair, my hair dry, easiest thing ever to brush. It's straight, it's easy, it's manageable. All I have to do is wash it and let it air dry, and it's fine. Right, my hair is great. Until it gets wet. And then you just cannot brush it. It's like absolutely terrible. So I just took a shower, and I wanted to film, so I just threw my hair back in a clip and said, I'm calling it a day. But now the claw clip, it's like a big claw clip, and it's like stabbing me in the back. See? It's like stabbing me in the back of the neck, so that's not fun. Anywho, monster. I designed him because it's the Design Your Own Monster class. I doodled him, and now he's real. Well, not completely real. He's not finished. He's going to have several like octopus legs, like short, but not like tentacles, like short stubby legs in like an octopus kind of pattern. If I ever get around to doing it. I kind of lost motivation for him when I got motivation for a new project. That's my next project that I'll talk about at the end. But he's doing pretty good. I like him so far. I'm not against him. I'm running out of steam a little bit, but he's cool. He's stuffed. I try so hard not to overstuff my amigurumi, and sometimes I understuff them because I did overstuff the platypus, and he's hard as a rock. So now I'm trying to like stuff less, and then I end up with like dents. So we'll see, but I like the eyes personally. Okay. Yeah, that's it. Oh my god, that's all my whips. I had 1, 2, 3, 4 whips. I will be adding a 5th today if I find the time. I do have schoolwork to do, so I gotta check my email, check in on my classwork, but I will find time to swatch today. I'm putting off swatching, but I know I need to for this project, so I'm kind of like just procrastinating the whole thing, which is bad, but anyway. So speaking of this little character, Kirby, my brother said, and I asked him if there's anything else he wanted right after I made the Kirby, because it only took me a day, and I'm like, okay, I have a Kirby, it took me a day, I want to make something else, you know, do you want anything? And he's kind of like, well, he originally said, like, put Kirby on as many things as you can. And I was like, okay, but... Oh, my mom reset the Hulu password. She just texted my whole family that. So, she reset the Hulu password. Anywho, what was I gonna say? Oh, yes. So he said put Kirby into the things as you can. I asked him, like, what he'd want. And Mom said, well, she's really good at socks. She kind of volunteered me for socks because my mom has several pairs of socks that I've made. She really likes them. So she kind of volunteered, like, hey, she makes socks. Do you like socks? And he goes, can you make tall socks? And I'm like, I can make anything you want. Like, if you want them tall, I'll make them tall. You know what I mean? Like, that's not hard. I mean, it is hard once you realize you have to do calf shaping, but, you know, you can figure it out. It's doable. And he goes, can you make Kirby socks that are tall? I said, sure. So then that's all I had to work with, right? Because he's a man of few words. So I went off to brainstorm, and I came up with a whole, like, you want Kirby on socks? You're gonna get Kirby on socks. Like, I will make that happen. So, the idea being, this is my plan. It's a toe-up sock because it's easier to do calf shaping and stuff like that when you're going toe-up. Toe-up sock, starting with a standard toe, Judy's Magic Cast on DPNs, because you can do that. It's a pain in the neck, but you can do it. And a regular standard toe. Then do the entire foot and heel all in pink. Later, a Kirby face, so like it'll all be pink, and the face will be duplicate stitched on top. I've never done duplicate stitch before, but we'll find out. Now, I've measured his feet and legs like every which way I can because he is going off to college, and I don't know if I'll finish them before he goes off to college. Probably I won't if I keep procrastinating like this. So I want to make sure I have every measurement I need. So I measured like all the vertical distances and all the horizontal distances. I used the Vogue Knitting Ultimate Knitting book, Designing Socks. There's a section on designing stockings that I used to figure out which measurements I needed. So I recommend that book. I mean, I guess I can't say if the sock worked out or not, but I recommend the book so far because it seems like it's working for me so far. Everything made sense in there, and I made sure I got all the measurements I needed. Anyway, speaking of measurements, he has skinny ankles compared to his feet, compared to everything else. And I wanted the socks to fit really well. So if I make the socks fit around the ankle, his heel won't be able to get through them because it's that much of a difference. So I'm deciding to do is doing the ankle in one color, or maybe stripes, I don't know, in the same number of stitches as the foot. I have all the math figured out. I don't have that in front of me, but I figured it out. Same number of stitches as the foot, and I do a ribbing that matches, like a 2x2 rib, I think is what I decided on. And then that way that'll stretch. So his heel will be able to get through it, but also it'll snap a little smaller. It'll kind of shrink because ribbing does that. It kind of shrinks and stretches. I'm making weird hand gestures. I hope you know what I mean. So his heel will be able to get through, and his ankle will still be hugged by his sock. Then after the ankle, so maybe 4-inch ankle, up the calf, I'm going to do Fair Isle. I'm going to do Kirby silhouettes. So I made a chart on Knitter's graph paper. This graph paper is from theknittingsite.com, copyrighted in 2005. I just Googled Knitter's graph paper, and that came up. So I'm going to do just a silhouette. So think about Kirby from behind, all in one color, right? So he's got the feet, that's the kind of shape. So that's my little chart. And I'm going to have the background color change each row, each chart repeat. That makes sense to a knitter, not to most people, but to each chart repeat. Once you get to the top of a Kirby and start a new Kirby, I'm going to do the background color in a different color. So it's going to be striped with Kirby's. And then, once I get up to the knee, I'm planning on doing this is a little fuzzy for me right now, some kind of Kirby portrait. So I've got to talk to him about whether he'd prefer intarsia or duplicate stitch. And the reason why I'm going to ask him, even though he doesn't know what those terms mean, I would ask him where he prefers a bump. Because duplicate stitch makes like a raised surface on the knitting, right? Because you're literally duplicating the stitches with thread over top, or with yarn over top. But if I did intarsia, then I would have a seam up the back or up the side. I would have a seam somewhere, basically, because you go around and back and then stitch it up, because you can't really do intarsia completely in the round, like properly. I know they call it intarsia in the round. It's not really, I don't think, to me. You're working flat and then sewing it together, which is fine, but, you know, it changes where the bump is on the sock, and he's kind of particular about socks and where he wants the bump. I did ask him for the instep. That's why I picked duplicate stitch for the instep, is because he preferred having a little bit bumpy on top as opposed to having a seam up one of the sides. So I'm doing that. I can do it either way. I just want to ask him like which he prefers. And then the top, I'm gonna have just a 2x2 ribbed cuff in a contrast color. So a color that's not in the portrait. Whew. That took longer to explain than I thought. I have a sketch. It's really bad. But they're going to be like thigh-high socks, basically. I am very excited to make them. I bought yarn online from Webs. I bought it from Webs as opposed to Knit Picks because Webs yarn is actually cheaper, this particular yarn. And it came in 100-gram hanks. This yarn is, let's try it. They redid their label, I think, or maybe, so I'm not sure which one's the current label. Because I got like one skein with this label and the rest of the skeins with this label. Cascade Heritage. 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon. I got this in the mail like the day before I left from my boyfriend's house, so I haven't been able to play with it yet, but I did wind it up. In the hank, before it was wound up, I showed it to Wes and I said, hey, these are gonna be your socks, and he felt it and he goes, ooh. I'm like, yeah. Enjoy the merino, I'm gonna convert you, but awesome. So I am using also elements from the Sock Knitter's Handbook. I am going to try the reverse strong heel, which I haven't bookmarked apparently, but it's the reverse strong heel. Call it reverse just because it's worked toe up. I've tried the strong heel top down once. I had other problems with the sock, so the sock didn't turn out well, but I don't think that was the heel's fault, is what I'm saying. So I'm going to try the reverse strong heel for a little challenge, as if this wasn't challenging enough. Okay, so this is the pink Kirby color. I don't remember, it doesn't, oh, here I have the receipt. It doesn't say on the tag what number, it says what number the color is, but not the name. We have Chanterelle, Placid Blue, Dusty Turquoise, and Lemon. Chanterelle, Lemon, Placid Turquoise, and Dusty Blue. Okay, so, that's fun, right? So I have a second skein of the pink. I don't want to hold it because I can barely hold these, but the second skein of the pink. These are all 100-gram skeins. The background for the Fair Isle Kirby's will be the 3 colors that are not pink, and the Kirby will be pink. I picked green and blue because maybe Kirby could be standing on grass in the portrait section and have a blue sky behind him. I found some images online of Kirby with the grass and blue skies, so I'm thinking maybe that. I don't know, but I've got yarn. Yes, I've got yarn. Thank you. Keen observation, that contributed a lot. Okay. The needles I'm using. Now, I did post a picture on Instagram once I got those wound up with the Kirby, and also with the needles and the Sock Knitter's Handbook. I changed my mind about the needles at the advice of someone on Reddit who had just knit a pair of baby socks with this same yarn. And it was weird that I saw that right before I was going to start knitting with this yarn, right? So, I commented like, oh, they're so pretty, but also like, do you have any, did you like the yarn? Do you have any tips for working with it, right? And she said she liked it, it's soft, but it's slippery. And so she prefers to use wooden needles with it. She's very glad she wasn't using metal needles. Because slippery yarn, metal needles, it just slip slides everywhere. Which I thought was smart. So I switched to my Knitter's Pride Gingers. I didn't switch, but I switched my ideas to my Knitter's Pride Ginger sock set. I normally knit socks on size 2s. My color work is a little tighter than that, so I will need to go up probably needle size or 2, or 3, I don't know, to a meat gauge, which is why I need to swatch. This is why we swatch, people, because, people say, oh, go up 1 needle size, but maybe 1 needle size isn't enough. Maybe 1 needle size is too much. So swatch. I'm swatching flat to make sure I get the right gauge, because I usually get 80 stitches per inch. I usually get 80 stitches per inch on size 2s. That might not be the case for this particular yarn needle combo. I don't know, so I'll swatch for that. And then I was swatching color work to both practice the color work, make sure the Kirby turns out okay, and also to kind of determine my color work gauge. These needles were a gift from Bear for Christmas. I love them, love them, love them. I've been thinking about getting an interchangeable set in the same wood material, but they're 135 bucks. So I'm thinking on it a little more, but so far I'm really liking them. Yeah, so that's that. I think I yacked your ear off about everything Kirby related. Chances of me finishing them before he goes to college on the 19th of August? Slim. Chances of me, getting a start and sending them to him for Christmas? pretty good. Chances of, you know, whatever. So we'll see. Okay. Putting everything back in the bag. I was trying to use the sock sack for it and then realized I needed so many yarn balls in the books. So now I'm using my EC More. They're gone. Stitch Studio by Nicole Boutique bag. It's just a purse, but I like putting yarn in it. Okay. Oh, this isn't the last thing. I also wanted to point out that I have made 2 kits for travel. I realized when I was going to pack, because I kind of made like last minute plans to go see Noah. So I keep calling him Noah and Bear. They're the same person. Yeah, so they're the same person. Noah, Bear, my boyfriend. It's all one guy. Anyway, I've been making like kits for like travel knitting, travel crochet. When I brought the gooseberry shawl with me when I went before, but it's kind of bulky and it's kind of complicated because of the lace, so it was hard to find time to do that lace row that I had to do while I was there, and it was just like not. It was an okay project to bring. It wasn't the worst thing to bring, but it wasn't the best thing to bring either. So I've decided to have a couple of travel projects like ready to go for if I am, you know, in the car as a passenger a long time, or if I am going to spend the weekend somewhere, or, you know, if I end up going on a vacation. I will have knitting ready to go. Well, it's actually crochet this time. I have crochet ready to go. So I won't be worried. Now, if you recall from previous episodes, I made a Scrapadelic scarf. Oh my god, I don't have the designer's name for the Scrapadelic scarf. I'll link the Scrapadelic scarf I made last time in the description box below, and then from there you can get to her pattern in her blog. So I'm going to try and do the same thing, except modify it a little bit. I'm going to use fingering weight yarn and an E-hook. Now, this is one of them. I have the other one already kind of put away. So I'm just going to show you this one, but I have another one with different colors as well. So what I did is I took all my scraps. The scarf is really simple, so what she says in her pattern, like chain a certain amount. This is my hook. Chain a certain amount, and then just basically half double crochet back and forth, starting a brand new color of yarn every time and just leaving a long tail. Now I think she wove her ends in, but when I did it, I left them long and tied on more ends so I'd have like a full fringe going on. So instead of weaving in ends, I put more ends in and then fringe. Options, right? So this one, I kind of made a color palette that's kind of masculine, I think, and the other one is a little more feminine with like pinks and light blues and purples. So I started with this Peyton's Croy FX socks. These are left over from Bear's socks that I made him. I added a green. Now, when I do these scrappy scarves, I don't necessarily keep everything to fingering weight, but I keep them all kind of close. So this scarf is from fingering to DK, anything in between can go. I would do the same thing if it was like super bulky to, you know, bulky and everything in between. Or, you know, bulky to DK and everything in between. You know, I'd pick a range instead of picking like a weight, because that gives me a little more flexibility. And if the scarf's a little textured, it looks cool. So, hunter green, I've got this yellow, I've got a navy, gray. I don't have another hand, okay. Okay, well, just put that down and I'll pick it all up at the end. Red, and a darker gray. And if I pick it all up, looks like that. So just gonna be stripes, no rhyme, no reason, half double crochets each time until I get a scarf, and it's done lengthwise. So chain a big long amount until it's about 60 inches, or the average human wingspan, because that's how long I like to make my scarves, and then back and forth half double crochets. I've made one before. It's really soothing, and if I'm traveling, I want something that's going to soothe me. I also want something that I can pick up and put down like whenever. If you're just half double crocheting across a row, doesn't matter when the heck you pick it up or put it down, because you're not going to miss anything. You're not going to like, oh my gosh, where am I on the chart? You're not going to do any of that. So and there's no shaping, there's nothing complicated, but it does make a pretty cool scarf. And yeah, so that's what I'm thinking. The other one's really cool. It's like pinks and green and blue and purple, and but this one is just that one. And then I like these scrappy scarves as opposed to, like, you know, getting 3 balls of worsted and crocheting just a regular scarf, because it's a little easier to pack. Because, yeah, sure, you may still have the same amount of yarn as one skein, but you can kind of fold it and squish it and bend it, and, you know, it's a little easier to work with. That, and there's, like, almost no pressure to do anything perfectly with a scrap scarf, because it's supposed to look a little thrown together, a little, not completely thrown together, like it should look like you picked colors on purpose, I think, but it shouldn't look like it, or it shouldn't look perfect, so it should look, you know, a little bit messy here and there. You'll be fine. That's it. That's all I have. Thank you so much for watching. Think of me if you're, you know, putting good vibes into the world. I could use them. You know, I'm not saying good vibes, like, I'm a prayer person. I don't pray all the time, but that's generally what I go to when I'm going for good vibes. But, you know, if you've got other beliefs, like, go for it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care. I could use good vibes at the moment, so if you've got some, send them my way. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in a future video.